For every YouTuber scamming their fans, there's another YouTuber getting scammed, starting with the Maker Studios fraud. By the early 2000s, YouTube wasn't as we know it today. Back then, content creators merely saw it as a hobby, but everything changed when YouTube introduced monetization. This change caught the attention of an ex-convict, Danny Zappin, who saw a golden opportunity to scam YouTubers and make millions. To do this, he founded Maker Studios in 2009. Maker Studios was a multi-channel network that provided production support, marketing, and monetization strategies in exchange for a percentage of the revenue. To attract creators and demonstrate the effectiveness of its services, Danny Zappin created a collab channel called The Station by Maker. For this, he recruited popular YouTubers of the moment, like Shane Dawson and Philip DeFranco. The channel's success was immediate, driven by videos that, at the time, were considered funny.
Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, boom. My blues are super fast. Kobe. Oh, it's second beer pong. Oh, yeah.
Hi, what's up, MTV? My name's Ariel. Welcome to my crib. Let me show you around.
In less than a year, Danny managed to gather a group of creators with millions of subscribers and millions of views, yet he still didn't have millions of dollars in his wallet. In need of more creators to achieve his millionaire's life, he began searching everywhere for fresh talent to join his network. But he took advantage of the fact that a lot of creators didn't really understand how YouTube's monetization worked, offering them deals where he'd take 40% to even 50% of their ad revenue. To make things worse, he wasn't transparent at all. Creators had no clue how much they were actually earning, which made it easier for him to take a big cut of their profits. In just 3 years, Maker signed over 2,000 new channels and had over 100 million views. And Ray William Johnson was his most precious talent. With millions of subscribers and views, Ray was the top YouTuber of the moment. But Danny Zappin wasn't satisfied. He wanted even more control over his biggest star, so he made a bold move by trying to renegotiate Ray's contract 8 months before it expired. Maker Studios was asking for 40% of Ray's AdSense revenue after production costs and 50% of the show's intellectual property. Ray, of course, rejected and exposed these terms, which enraged Danny, leading him to respond with this threat. "Your lack of integrity and character are sad. Fuck you. Prepare for war, bitch." After the scandal, Ray cut every relationship he had with Maker Studios, leaving Danny with a massive gap to fill.
Now in the near future, Equals 3 will no longer be part of the Maker Studios network, so I'm gonna film here for a while.
Desperate after losing his biggest creator, Danny was scrambling for a solution, and that solution practically fell into his lap. YouTube introduced the ability to monetize content directly, cutting out networks like Maker Studios entirely.
Now you no longer needed an MCN to be monetized. You didn't need an MCN to make custom thumbnails. They would not protect you from copyright claims even though they said they could. You don't need a fancy multi-million-dollar studio to produce videos in your bedroom.
Luckily for Danny, at that time, YouTubers still didn't fully understand how to monetize on their own, so he used that to his favor. His first big move was signing the YouTube star of the moment, PewDiePie. After acquiring him, Maker Studios became more attractive to smaller channels, and Danny's plan worked. He signed over 55,000 creators to his channel by offering them contracts where they would only pay 10% or even zero of their ad revenue. But why would he sign contracts that didn't gain him any money? You might think he wasn't such a bad person after all. The truth, however, is that this was all a strategy to trick investors, making it seem like his company had billions of views and an incredible cash flow.
Time Warner acquired a % stake in the company for $36 million in December of 2012, and other contributors like Canal Plus and Singtel have also provided $26 million, for a combined total of $61.4 million in capital raised for Maker.
These achievements made his company worth millions, creating the perfect opportunity for Danny to sell Maker Studios to Disney for $500 million in March 2014. By the time Disney discovered they had bought a business built on lies, it was already too late. Once Disney realized the truth, they acted fast, cutting support for over 60,000 YouTubers without warning and turning Maker Studios into Disney Digital Network. Meanwhile, Danny Zappin pocketed the profits from the Disney sale, along with over $20 million in earnings taken from YouTubers who trusted him. And speaking of scams involving OG YouTubers, the next case is about one who scammed his own audience by pretending it was all for charity. Gerard Khalil was among the OG gaming YouTubers, alongside MatPat, JonTron, and the Game Grumps. Yet, no one could predict how he would scam the very community that loved and respected him by using his dead mother memory. This scheme began with Gerard and his family starting the Open Hands Foundation in honor of his deceased mother, who passed away from dementia. They put together events to raise money for research and support for those affected by the disease. Among these, these was Indieland, a yearly streaming event Gerard launched in 2018 to rally support and donations.
And it was a bunch of me and my friends and various game developers and special guest celebrities that came by, and we raised money for the Open Hand Foundation.
For over a decade, Gerard was seen as a saint, but in 2023 the truth came out. It all began when YouTuber Carl Jobst and some ordinary gamers received an anonymous tip claiming the foundation hadn't donated a single cent, sparking an investigation. Their first discovery left them stunned as the IRS website confirmed that no money had ever been donated to charity throughout the foundation's entire history. Concerned about this, Carl reached them out via email and received this response from Gerard's brother. Since our official registration as a foundation, we have been evaluating potential beneficiaries who align with our vision. In other words, we haven't donated anything because we can't decide where to send the nearly $1 million sitting in a bank account. After this discovery, Carl and Mutahar decided to call Gerard directly to ask him what was going on.
I was not aware the entire time that the money was not being donated.
You weren't notified that the money was sitting there the whole time?
I knew it was sitting there at a certain point, and that's what made me proactively go about it. I assumed that it was all going to a charity, and I assumed incorrectly.
At first, Gerard seemed genuinely sorry and claimed he was trying to fix the problem, but later, he justified withholding the money, saying it was to make a restricted donation that required a minimum amount of funds. The problem is, he never mentioned this before, and there was even proof of him saying he was working with several institutions.
My father, my brother, and I started a foundation called the Open Hand Foundation that raises money for dementia research and treatment for organizations all over the world.
Because of all the lies and inconsistencies, Carl released 2 videos exposing the fraud and everything Gerard had been hiding.
In 10 years of filings, they have not dispersed a single dollar to anyone. They have kept everything for themselves. This is obviously alarming. People have been donating their hard-earned money for 10 years. They all believe their money is going to a good cause. People have been championing Indieland for years, declaring they are fighting dementia. Gaming developers, YouTube influencers, celebrities have all donated their time, money, and effort to this event, thinking it was doing something when it just wasn't.
Due to the pressure from being exposed, the foundation finally donated $600,000 to the AFTD, but not without Gerard stepping forward to apologize in a video.
I want to apologize to anyone who ever donated over the years who felt they were wronged or led astray by any of this.
He then tried to justify his actions, claiming that not all the money could go to charity because some of it was needed to run the event.
We paid for flights, hotels, appearance fees, supplies, food and catering, costs of good for merchandise, etc. So to say the money is missing is simply wrong.
But Carl exposed his lies once again.
Does Gerard not understand that he is admitting to embezzlement here? To be clear, a charity using donations to cover expenses isn't illegal. It's totally normal and common. But that's not what Gerard did. Gerard lied to the public and said that this money was going to charity and that he wasn't touching any of it.
Carl also accused him of using his late mother's memory not only to gain money, but also sympathy after the accusations.
Seeing Gerard use his mother's death as a weapon and a shield is messed up on so many levels that it makes me feel nauseous. He uses her to try and gain sympathy, he uses her to try to get money, and he uses her as a shield against criticism.
After this, Gerard shamelessly continued to upload videos until August of 2024, when he seemed to disappear from the internet. Gerard's betrayal shocked his fans, but in the next case, YouTubers were the ones who got scammed by a shady merch company. In 2023, Revolt scammed MrBeast and other content creators, costing them millions of dollars, which ultimately led to its downfall. He found out that Revolt, led by its founder, Ryan Piaciente, was basically a Ponzi scheme. They used money from new creators to pay off what they owed to others. On top of that, Ryan was also skimming profits to blow on a ridiculously over-the-top millionaire lifestyle.
Did you always spend money like an idiot?
Yeah, I've always spent money like a I mean, the thing with money is I like to be able to provide that experience to everybody.
Logically, this fragile system kept depending on bigger and bigger deals because the debts just kept piling up and they needed more money to stay afloat. That's when Ryan landed a deal with MrBeast, but by this point, he was so deep in debt that even working with someone that big wasn't enough to turn things around. So, he decided to inflate the costs of goods. In other words, Ryan charged MrBeast more for the merch than what he was actually paying to produce it.
I got sent this. See, somebody wrote down next to the factory prices, new prices, higher prices.
But this plan backfired. Instead of generating the revenue Revolt desperately needed, the inflated prices discouraged fans and led to underwhelming sales, creating an even bigger financial hole. And this is when everything fell apart. Creators finally got the guts to speak up about the late and missing payments they'd been dealing with for months.
Smosh founder Anthony Padilla says, Revolt still hasn't paid me. It's been months.
I am Nikki Niachu. I'm a Twitch streamer, and Revolt owes me $300,000.
Worse yet, clients who bought merch were also scammed, paying for products they never received. This was partly because Revolt's logistics were a mess. They kept selling more merch than they could handle, and as the money ran out, they couldn't afford to pay for storage, so the merch that had already been sold ended up being donated or thrown away.
Delays, missing orders. Sometimes the order would just be wrong, like when they sent out a pin collection but forgot the pins. Now, because of this, an insider at Revolt told me that in December of 21, they had over 100,000 customer support tickets open for quality issues and items not being shipped.
Unfortunately, the story didn't end there. It only took a darker turn. As CoffeeZilla's investigation deepened, he uncovered a wave of harassment and abuse allegations against Ryan during his time as the Misfits manager. 5 witnesses accused him of using his power to coerce young men and women into inappropriate situations, describing him as manipulative and predatory. I've witnessed him on his employees in the shower, break into clients' phones to search for private photos, take advantage of men who he has given way too much alcohol and drugs. Ryan also allegedly used Misfits business accounts to pay struggling creators for explicit photos. But when CoffeeZilla tried to contact him for his side of the story, he never responded, and no one's seen him since the video dropped in December 2023. It's estimated that Ryan Piaciente stole around $5 million through his schemes. This includes unpaid earnings to creators, inflated costs, and unfulfilled customer orders. In this case, MrBeast was the one getting scammed, but in the next, he was the one serving the scam. MrBeast has betrayed his community in many ways, from an illegal lottery and misleading marketing to dangerous working conditions. However, his dive into crypto stands out as the one that impacted his fans the most. The investigation by Somex BT and Casperlock revealed that Jimmy allegedly made over $24 million by abusing the already shady cryptocurrency market. Take Superfarm, for example. He was part of the pre-sale, investing $100,000 long before the public had access to the token. Then, in what seemed like an innocent move, he replied to a promotional tweet from the official Super account with just the eyes emoji, causing the token's value to spike as both investors and MrBeast's fans rushed to buy in. He took it further with this reply to the project's creator, who tweeted, "A gem sitting on the market at eye-watering prices set to explode," to which MrBeast said, "Super?" Of course, after those tweets, the token's value skyrocketed. Conveniently, at the same time, MrBeast's Super Fund was on sale, making over $200,000 in less than 3 days.
Publicly, it's signaling, hey, Super is this undervalued coin, and privately, MrBeast allegedly sold.
And then there's XCAD, where MrBeast didn't even need to tweet. His mere involvement as an early founder was enough to create media buzz. Knowing MrBeast's team had a lot of tokens and could sell at any time, the project's creator asked them to hold off, worried it could hurt the market. But they broke that promise, dumped a huge amount, and tanked the price.
Like with Super and Earn, MrBeast's fund sold a lot of their XCAD early in 2021, rather than holding their tokens. And this was surprising to even the founder of XCAD himself, Oliver Bell, who said they told him they were going to do the opposite.
When confronted, MrBeast denied having control over these actions, claiming he doesn't even manage his crypto accounts.
Yeah, I invested in a crypto fund. They invested on my behalf, and I've never had access to that wallet.
However, this excuse failed due to a Logan Paul podcast episode where he casually admitted to making decisions about his crypto investments, such as which NFTs to buy or which projects to invest in.
We bought a lot with the cigarettes because I thought that was an interesting attribute, and those did pretty well.
What's another characteristic what's your rarest characteristic, Punk?
Well, I've already sold quite a few of them, so I don't.
What?
Dude,
he's on to the next thing.
I bought a bunch of, so then I rolled the money into VFriends.
When CoffeeZilla heard about the case, he reached out by email, but just got a generic statement from MrBeast's spokesperson.
These investments were made and managed in consultation with industry experts to ensure full compliance with all appropriate rules and regulations. The wallet is not owned or managed by Jimmy, but rather a fund led by respected and sophisticated managers.
Things got worse during an interview with Oompaville, where he dodged questions and gave vague answers.
I just went scrolling through Twitter, just replied Super to his tweet. I did not tell people to buy Super or anything. I just replied Super. And I know the next thing where people are going to go, but this was a planned, coordinated thing. It wasn't. I mean, it's not excuses. I literally was just a fund. I was not the one buying or selling or anything.
To this day, MrBeast has avoided giving a satisfactory explanation about these controversies. But the evidence strongly suggests he used his influence to manipulate the crypto market, allegedly earning him over $24 million at the expense of his followers and regular investors. In this case, MrBeast was willingly deceiving his audience, but what if a company tricked him and other YouTubers into promoting a scam where they ended up being the real victims? Honey used to be the go-to extension promoted by YouTubers. YouTubers, with over 5,000 promotions from more than 1,000 influencers, but now it's known as the scam of all scams and is facing lawsuits for its shady practices. YouTubers like Legal Eagle and Wendover Productions have filed a class action lawsuit against PayPal, Honey's parent company, claiming it's been stealing revenue from the same influencers who helped promote it.
We filed a class action lawsuit seeking damages in the form of the money that we believe Honey prevented from reaching creators so we can give it back to creators. And equally important, we're suing for an injunction to stop Honey's practices in the future.
After Megalag exposed its shady schemes, the YouTube community was shocked, and many influencers began sharing videos about how Honey's sponsorships had scammed them personally.
And affiliate revenue, that was a huge part of the way I made money. Like, there were a couple of years there where I made more money from affiliate revenue than from like YouTube ads. Now, it is not the case anymore, and thankfully I have diversified things. But for a lot of creators, especially smaller creators, they don't have that diversification as an option. And a lot of creators rely on affiliate revenue.
I make more from one of those threads than I make from 2 to 3 months of YouTube AdSense.
But how exactly was Honey scamming everyone? Influencers promoted it as a browser extension that helped users find the best deals for online shopping. But if this was the whole deal, how was it making money? That's exactly what Markiplier questioned back in 2020.
But there's some shady shit going on. I can't put my finger upon it. But why do they spend millions on advertising? Where is Honey getting the money?
Now we know how Honey really worked. Normally, creators promoted products with affiliate links, earning a commission when their audience made a purchase using those links. However, when Honey activated to find deals, it replaced the creator's affiliate link with its own, even if no discounts were applied. The creator lost the commission, and Honey took it. But it didn't stop there. Beyond stealing from influencers, it also betrayed its users by doing the opposite of what it promised. Honey claimed to find the best deals, but in their own podcast, a store representative revealed that the discount process wasn't as transparent as it seemed.
Gen Z is super discount savvy. You can't ignore the fact that they will hunt for like discount codes and they might find a better deal. With Honey, you can also control the discount code percentage.
The worst part is that Honey knew exactly what it was doing. In true Disney Plus fashion, they added an anti-lawsuit clause to their terms of service to protect themselves.
This agreement contains 1. An arbitration provision, 2. A waiver of rights to bring a class action lawsuit against us, and 3. A release by you of claims for damage against us that may arise out of your use of the service to the greatest extent permitted by applicable law. By using the service, you agree to these provisions.
This is why the attorneys decided to file the lawsuit on behalf of influencers rather than the general public for now. Unfortunately, Attorney Tom also explained that these legal actions could take years to reach a verdict, especially with PayPal's financial and legal backing behind Honey.
The average lawsuit takes between 2 and 5 years.
But even if justice takes its time, it may come from 3 different fronts: scammed influencers, deceived users, and victims Megalag has yet to expose.
We started having problems where customers would get in touch via our support saying, oh hey, I just tried to use this discount, this 60% off coupon, and it doesn't work. I'd be like, that is not your discount, like how did you get that? And they'd be like, oh, it just showed up through the Honey extension.
But while this might be one of the worst scams in YouTube history, the next one was even more heartless. YouTubers scamming their fans with promises of saving kids. In 2021, the Save the Kids token was launched with the mission of helping the world's future generations. But this charity token turned out to be a major scam. FaZe clan members, FaZe Jarvis, FaZe Neekin, and Fraser K were the ones promoting it. But it turned out to be a classic pump and dump scheme, claiming it would help kids in need, but never actually doing anything. Only 24 hours after its launch, the token's value collapsed, and the YouTubers who promoted it deleted all their tweets and stayed silent. But thankfully, CoffeeZilla's deep investigation exposed everyone involved, starting with those who played smaller roles and ending with the true masterminds behind the operation. So first off, FaZe Jarvis and FaZe Neekin messed up by dumping all their tokens just days after the launch. But greed was their only involvement. Unlike Fraser K, the real mastermind behind this crypto scam, who led the entire operation and, like any villain, had a group of minions doing the dirty work for him. One of them was Jordan Gale, FaZe Clan's ex-manager, who was in charge of recruiting other celebrities to get involved with the token.
This text is from Jordan himself. Quote, hey, great to be connected. One of the talents I represent, FaZe K, is one of the lead ambassadors for a new crypto token launch, Save the Kids. We would love to get this person involved.
And then there was Sam Pepper, K's best friend, who told the developer to mess with the anti-whale mechanism, originally intended to prevent large holders from dumping the tokens too quickly.
They turned it from being a code that wouldn't let whales sell off in less than 5 days into a code that lets you sell off in 5 minutes.
This was a key part of the scam, but he said he was only doing what K told him to.
I've been a paid consultant to K for 2 years.
I took orders from him and had no authority independent of him.
And this brings us to Fraser K, the one responsible for creating the token and the first to profit from the whale code modification.
Fraser K sold 30 minutes before Sam Pepper. An entire 30 minutes before.
Despite everything, K played the victim, insisting he's just a clueless content creator with no real knowledge of crypto, but CoffeeZilla didn't let him play the ignorance card.
He has a history of doing that to every project or nearly every project he gets involved in. Like take this coin right here, which is called gamesafe.io. He got these coins, immediately sold them out, and this is the date, okay? So 31 days ago, and then you could see the sell-off was almost immediate.
After being exposed, he posted a 27-minute video playing the victim and even trying to blame his ex-best friend, Sam Pepper. Despite his excuses, the Save the Kids scam ended up stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars, yet no one faced any real consequences. In the next case, the tables turned and it was the YouTubers who fell victim to false promises of success and growth. Defy Media was a multi-channel network that owned various big channels like Smosh and Screen Junkies and partnered with other huge YouTubers such as MatPat's channels. However, none of them expected the company, meant to help manage their content, to end up stealing their money with Smosh and the Theorists, standing out as the most devastating cases. In Smosh's case, the trouble began when founders Ian Hecox and Anthony Padilla sold the brand to Defy in exchange for stock. At first, things looked good. Defy handled Smosh's production, got them brand deals, and grew the channel, even launching spin-offs and creating new content. But creative conflicts soon came up, especially for Anthony, who felt more and more restricted by Defy's executives, ultimately leading him to leave Smosh.
I just need to do what's best for me. And that right now for me is to focus on creating stuff as an independent creator on my own channel.
A year later, Anthony's exit seemed almost prophetic. In 2018, Defy Media abruptly shut down, leaving its employees jobless and Smosh without a home.
Smosh is currently without a home. Was not our
fault.
We did everything right. Smosh is not over.
Still here,
we
baby.
still out here. We doing it. And you can't stop us.
Worse yet, Ian and Anthony realized they hadn't just sold Smosh, they had essentially given it away for free. The stock they'd received for their life project was now worthless.
So I sold it for $0. Selling for stock means that it's completely valueless. I should have really taken my time to figure out what selling really meant and what stocks really meant, but you live and you learn.
Sure, buying Smosh for stock wasn't illegal, but it was a very cheap trick because they convinced two young, inexperienced creators to hand over their life project with promises of huge financial growth and creative freedom. What was pretty much illegal, though, was suddenly leaving tens of employees jobless without any notice. Defy's collapse hit more than 50 other creators under its management, including MatPat, who took a big hit. MatPat released 2 videos exposing the company's fraudulent practices and also advocating for smaller creators who had lost everything.
And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, this is just big YouTuber problems, but it's not. Of the 50 channels that were affected, a lot of them were also smaller creators, people who were using that ad revenue to barely cover their rent.
MatPat explained that Defy worked like any other MCN. They took the money from YouTubers, kept their cut, and sent the rest to the creators. But he also showed how they took advantage of the system, just like Maker Studios did.
It's like if your paycheck, before it got sent to your house, was sent to like the water company, and then like the electric company, and then McDonald's, and whatever other services that you planned on using for the duration of that month, and then it eventually reaching your own pocket. And that's the loophole that the MCN started to realize that they could exploit to make themselves look bigger.
In other words, Defy used creators' money to make the company look like they worth more money than they actually did, attracting partners and investors with false numbers.
Most creators don't know that any of this stuff is happening. I mean, I worked at 2 different MCNs for the better part of 3 years, and I only just now am able to put all these pieces together.
Defy was pulling the same dirty trick Maker Studios did, but instead of taking a big cut from a multi-million-dollar company, they squeezed money out of big and small creators. This is exactly what they did to MatPat. Someone at Defy, whom he trusted and respected, lied to him by showing fake growth.
Someone who I thought had decency, someone who I at the very least saw as a friend or as a somewhat okay boss, would get on the phone and take advantage of someone he knew, and someone he actively knew had just had a child. I have every reason to believe that when we got on that call that day, he knew that he was about to steal from us.
In the end, when Defy Media declared bankruptcy, they got out of paying back what they owed. In total, they stole $1.7 million, with $400,000 coming from MatPat alone. And like Defy Media, a YouTuber who never paid back the fans he scammed was Logan Paul. Before Logan Paul endangered kids' health, he went straight for their wallets, hyping up his CryptoZoo scam as this super fun game that kids were just gonna love.
Kids are addicted to it. Our developers' kids, all of them, cannot stop playing the game.
Of course, he wasn't dumb enough to call it a kids game, but he did market it as a family-friendly experience, which pretty much translates to kids begging their parents to spend money on a completely useless game.
They're all bothering their dads and moms about can we hatch the eggs? Yeah, can we hatch the eggs?
It's funny how Logan says kids love to hatch the eggs, when most people found the eggs wouldn't even hatch. Or at least, that's what CoffeeZilla found when he spoke with the victims of the scam.
Wait, you can't even hatch?
No, I'm telling you, it's just a picture. There's nothing I could do with it.
You're kidding! You can't hatch?
There's nothing I could do with it. You could ask any of those community guys. That's basically worth nothing whatsoever.
What makes this even more deceptive is that he claimed to have hired an entire team of professional artists to create the animal designs, investing millions of dollars in the process.
We handmade art for the past 6 months, bro. Approval, very specific notes, 10 different artists making art for our project.
But when the game launched, what we got were penguin sharks, panda fans, and the harsh truth that Logan lied about this too. But he wasn't the only liar. The entire founding team behind this disastrous excuse for a game ended up turning on each other. One of the key players in the scam was Jake the Crypto King, the advisor for CryptoZoo. Apparently, he was the one who dealt the first blow. During the pre-sale, meant only for the team, he grabbed more tokens than agreed, spread them across multiple wallets, and sold them in bulk, making around $3 to $6 million in the process. When CoffeeZilla confronted him, he defended himself by claiming he hadn't done anything illegal and argued that what Logan did was far worse.
You can say the timing was bad and it was inappropriate to sell, but the reality is I bought tokens open market and sold them open market. So there was nothing illegal about that. Ethically, arguable. The rest that Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Crypto King also claimed that the real reason the project failed was Eddie Ibanez, the developer's manager. He appeared to be a well-prepared and noble guy, an orphan who graduated from MIT, worked for a government cybersecurity agency, and even helped the Eagles win a Super Bowl. But it all turned out to be fake, including his mother being dead. But even when Logan's team found out that his curriculum was fabricated, they didn't seem to care about it and kept him on the project.
Have you ever verified that anything Eddie said about himself is true?
We verified that it's true?
Yeah.
We definitely talk to people.
Okay, because I had trouble with some of that, like with the NFL, like saying that, like, no, we've never worked with him.
In the end, this compulsive liar sold his tokens while the value was still high and walked away with around $1.7 million. But even with the disastrous team abandoning the project, Logan insisted that CryptoZoo would become a reality, claiming he'd rather die than leave us without the Penguillion.
Trust me, CryptoZoo is coming. I will make damn sure of it.
Of course, that never happened. He had full control of the whole project for over a year and didn't do anything about it. Then, 3 years later, after admitting that the game wouldn't be launched, Logan announced a $2.3 million repayment plan to buy back base eggs. However, the estimated damages came to $18.5 million. In the end, investors lost over $4.1 million, while Logan stayed silent and moved on to his next venture. Oh, and of course, let's not forget, when CoffeeZilla fought to expose the truth and stand up for the victims, what did Logan do? He sued him for defamation. Another scammer who faced the wrath of CoffeeZilla was the so-called Wolf of Wall Street of podcasting, who orchestrated a scheme against numerous YouTubers working in the podcasting world. In 2016, Cast Media launched as a podcast channel that was supposed to help creators find sponsors. But in reality, podcasters were walking straight into a scam set by Colin Thompson, founder and CEO of Cast Media. In 2023, many creators like Theo Vaughn revealed the truth about how Colin had been embezzling the ad revenue meant for them.
Just between talking with folks, there's up to $4 million that I know of that people were taking advantage of.
Got ripped off over $100,000.
When things go bad, they take the money, they cut and run, and they leave the people who they leveraged to build that company out in the cold.
When CoffeeZilla uncovered this scam, he directly confronted Colin Thompson about the $4 million he allegedly stole. But Colin avoided the question, claiming that creators were making more money with Cast Media than they would on their own, thanks to their minimum guarantee. This meant that creators were paid a fixed amount monthly, even if the ads didn't generate that income, meaning Cast Media often had to cover the difference out of pocket.
Many creators do have more money in their pocket now because of that.
But everything changed drastically when their ad revenues dropped in 2022.
Over the course of those 12 months, the revenue that we could generate on one download moved down by 58%.
Since then, they couldn't generate enough money to cover the minimum guarantees, and eventually, payments started getting delayed. But, of course, this was a big lie.
Everyone from the beginning had
complain about how long it took to get paid.
From the first check we were supposed to get, it didn't arrive when he said.
The truth is, creators weren't getting their money on time from the start, and when ad revenue dropped, some didn't get paid at all. So where was all that money going?
I would say that honestly, most of the money probably went to the minimum guarantees of other talent, instead of to the people that it was supposed to go to.
Basically, Thompson was adding more creators to make Cast Media's portfolio look more successful than it really was, just so he could sell it for a good price, and in the meantime, he was pocketing a few $1 million for himself.
He built a custom house. He was known for going on big, crazy vacations. He went to Hawaii multiple times in 2022 and was posting about it on his social media.
So, yeah, with that poor management and their CEO spending the money on his vacations and a house, it's no surprise Cast Media ended up declaring bankruptcy.
I decided to look into that and found that Colin Thompson indeed bought a $1.7 million house the same year as his financial troubles.
He also discovered that while declaring bankruptcy, Colin moved his house into a trust. Turns out Colin did it because he was scared for his life.
I assume you listen to the Jim Cornette episodes where they specifically call out where I live. We were really, really concerned. We were getting threats.
But of course, his nose was just growing and growing because this was just another one of his lies. That Jim Cornette episode was never found, and it didn't reveal Colin's address, only the area where he lived. Additionally, the episode where they mentioned the area came out after Colin had already moved his house to a trust, so those supposed threats don't really add up. In the end, this rat never really took responsibility. Instead of paying creators back, they offered them a new contract with another network called Podcast One, so podcasters were fucked. They had just two options: take the deal or their share of the $4 million Colin owed them. But at least Colin never got to sell Cast Media. The whole thing fell apart before he could make it happen. And finally, we arrive at one of the most mind-blowing crypto scams to date. What makes this case unique is that, while the YouTubers were scammed, their actions were far from transparent. Sam Bankman-Fried, known as SBF, was a mathematics, vegan, and an animal rights activist who seemed like a really humble guy who wanted to make the world a better place.
Hi, my name is Sam, and this is my story.
Last year, this 29-year-old guy donated $50 million. Next year, he's planning to donate $500 million a year.
But this seemingly humble and philanthropic figure turned out to be one of the biggest scammers in crypto history. He fooled celebrities, politicians, and YouTubers into promoting his scam by using effective altruism to claim his growing wealth was all about giving back to charity.
Earn to give, which means his goal as a human is to make as much money as possible just to give it away. Earn to give.
Within just a few years, he became a billionaire, owning not one, but two companies deeply embedded in the world of cryptocurrency. Alameda Research was a crypto trading company that would buy cryptocurrencies at a low price on one platform and sell them for more on another. FTX, on the other hand, was a platform where people could buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrencies designed to appeal to the general public. Its popularity grew so quickly that even stars like NBA legend Stephen Curry and NFL quarterback Tom Brady joined in to promote it. Even some famous financial content creators like BitBoy Crypto, Meet Kevin, and Graham Stephan promoted FTX to their followers, who trusted their financial advice.
The story is legit. FTX has been pumping up the price. FTX had a seat at almost every single major financial
start. Let's talk about FTX US.
These high-profile campaigns propelled FTX's popularity. Its token, FTT, skyrocketed, making FTX seem unstoppable.
In 2 years, his company became one of the biggest in the world, worth over $40 billion.
But in November 2022, it all fell apart. It all started when Changpeng Zhao, owner of Binance and SBF's rival, tweeted his plans to sell all his FTT tokens. That tweet caused panic, since Zhao held a massive amount of tokens, leading people to dump the project and leaving FTX in a liquidity crisis. 2 days later, Binance plans to buy FTX US, giving FTX clients a brief sense of relief. But the very next day, they backed out of the deal, saying they were worried about missing customer funds that were being used to cover Alameda's massive losses. Of course, SBF denied any connection between the two companies, but a leaked balance sheet showed how billions were funneled from FTX to Alameda. SBF's reckless ambition exposed him as a fraudster, but he didn't go down alone. He dragged plenty of YouTubers who backed this crypto scam.
These influencers are accused of promoting FTX and getting paid for it. It also accuses them of not conducting adequate, if any, due diligence. Allegedly, these influencers played a major role in the FTX disaster, who hyped the deceptive FTX platform for undisclosed payments.
One of those accused was Graham Stephan. Right before FTX collapsed, he posted a video telling his fans to pull out their money, which got him a lot of criticism for obvious reasons. He claimed he had no idea any of this was happening and apologized to his audience.
I genuinely had no clue that any of this was going on behind the scenes, and it makes me sick to think that I put my trust in this company whose founder was completely keeping people in the dark.
Meet Kevin was another one who told CoffeeZilla he felt bad for the people scammed by FTX, but said he wasn't responsible.
I'm a big fan of contributing to some sort of recovery fund when it's all over, not because I feel responsible. I do not feel responsible, but because I feel sorry for people who, quite frankly, lost money because they either didn't listen to the advice of not your keys, not your crypto, or they put too much of their own portfolio on.
Also, Tom Nash gave the lamest excuse, claiming that no one from his channel had subscribed to FTX.
I think that you all deserve me to talk about FTX. I was working with them a few months ago for about 30 days. Somehow, during this whole month we were running the campaign, literally nobody signed up for FTX US. They called me and I was insulted in the beginning, and they said, look, Tom, we gotta cut it short because we had like a 3-month plan to work together. And they said, look, we're stopping after 1 month because nobody's signing up from your channel.
And finally, there's Naz Daily, who made a video portraying SBF as a generous billionaire in front of millions of viewers. But there was one crucial detail he conveniently left out in the video description. He was paid to make it. Sadly for him, he spilled the whole tea during a podcast interview with Silicon Valley Girl.
Sometimes we get a brand deal in which I have to go on the spot for 1 full day and make a video about a person. So
oh, wow.
Those take full days.
Interesting. So sometimes the characters that are in your video are actually paid sponsorships.
Yeah, sometimes, yes.
Do you say that in the video?
So it's actually like less than 3% of the content. And we do not say that.
His lack of transparency makes it seem like scamming the audience was the whole point, which is why the FTX case shows how YouTubers can be both victims and enablers.